Well, it's about time to begin. So if you would, take a songbook, turn to 531, 531. And then Brother Scott Wilson will lead us in our prayer. Faith of our fathers, living still, in spite of done. I think I've gotten the wrong song in my mind. I'm sorry. Let's go to 528. 528. To Christ be loyal and be true, his banner be unfurled, and borne aloft till is secure the conquest of the world. To Christ the Lord be true, for he will always go with you and help you all your conflicts through. To Christ the Lord be true. To Christ be loyal and be true, and he will be your friend, defending and protecting you to life's immortal end. To Christ the Lord be true, for he will go with you and help you all your conflicts through. To Christ the Lord be true.
Good morning. I'm not up here to say the prayer. I'm actually up here to teach the class, which is a little shocking to me, but here I am. Keith actually last Sunday asked me to teach the class, and I said, at first I was like, nah, I don't know about that. I don't. It's not something I like to do. But after some thought, I decided, why not? Let's do this. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll go from there. The good thing about it is I'm only doing this one class, so if I really just screw it up, Keith's got to come back up here next week and fix it. So that's the good thing. So maybe Keith should have thought about asking someone else before he asked me. But anyway, so we're here now, so we're going to do it. So what have we been talking about? Or what has Keith been talking about, or we as a class have been talking about? What have we been talking about these past few weeks? Christian graces, okay. What about them? What are the Christian graces?
We have to add them all as we are able to do it, as we gain knowledge.
Okay.
Like stacking something, we want to do them all, not just pick out one, we got to do them all.
Okay. And so what's the first? The first one is what? Knowledge. So knowledge, Keith gave us, he said there was two, I don't remember the Greek words, so forgive me for that, but there's two types of knowledge. There's the knowledge of facts, so that's, I know these facts. And then there's the knowledge through experiences, so things we've experienced, and we gain knowledge through those experiences. And so as we gain that knowledge, and as we gain that knowledge, we add to that virtue, right? So, or we don't add to that knowledge virtue, but it's kind of like Danny said, it's a revolving thing. So as we gain knowledge, we use that knowledge to make ourselves more excellent, and we strive to be excellent. So it's kind of a revolving door almost of, our faith grows, we strive to do it better, we gain more knowledge. Our faith grows, we strive to do better, we gain knowledge. So Keith kind of gave the example last week where we left off is he was talking about a football player. And so he used Patrick Mahomes. I don't watch the NFL or anything like that, but anyway. So he used Patrick Mahomes as the example. So early on in his life, he probably found out that he had some sort of ability to do throw a football really well. And so with that knowledge and that faith in his ability, he wanted to do better. So he would practice. He would learn more, practice, learn more. And through the years, he came to be, a Super Bowl winning quarterback. So same thing, maybe a different experience. So sometimes we have knowledge. So I may know something, but there may not be a value to what I know until some sort of experience happens. So example I'll give here is maybe that I know that it's important for me to, maybe I know that somebody in my family has a heart condition. They have these heart problems, and then that could affect me because, through genetics, I could have those heart issues. And so I have that knowledge, but it doesn't really have any value to me at that moment. And so time goes by, I still have the knowledge, and then I have a heart attack. And so now I have the knowledge that, that thing that I used to think, didn't affect me, now it does. So sometimes in life, we can gain knowledge through those experiences, and that's kind of one of those experiences we're talking about through the heart attack. And at that point, that knowledge that we have becomes worth it. It now has a value to it. So do we know the actual value of our faith? So, through the heart attack experience, if you go and you have this heart attack, and now you have a knowledge of it, so what are you going to do? You're going to go to the doctor, and they're going to give you all this advice, all these things that you can do. And what you're going to do, you're going to start applying those things to your life. You're going to start eating better. You're going to start going for walks, and you're going to start doing things that will prevent you from any further issues down the road. And as you do that, you're going to grow in knowledge. So you're going to go and you're going to probably look online for things you can do. You're going to start researching. So you're going to start gaining more knowledge. And the more knowledge you gain, the more faith you're going to have in the things that you're doing that are going to help you to get better. And so as you do this, people are probably going to start noticing, hey, there's something different about you now. They're going to start kind of seeing changes in your life. Hey, you're starting to eat better. You're starting to exercise more. What's going on? Tell me about these things that you're doing. Why are you doing these things? And so that kind of leads into the next grace that we're going to talk about today, and that's self-control or temperance. And so in 2 Peter, obviously we're going to read chapter 1 in verse 6, or verse 5. So for these reasons, make every effort to supplement your faith with virtue, your virtue with knowledge, and your knowledge with self-control, and self-control with steadfastness, and steadfastness with godliness. So the King James Version says temperance, self-control, same thing. So what is self-control? What are some examples of self-control? Or what's the definition of self-control? Okay. Okay, what are you controlling in yourself? Yourself, when you say yourself, what exactly are we trying to control?
Probably anger,
Impulses.
disappointment.
Okay. So we're really controlling our emotions. So the definition is being able to control one's emotions and desires or expressions of themselves and one's behavior, especially in a difficult situation. So I'm going to butcher this, but I'll try my best. The Greek word is in Greek, I can't, Greek word, I'm not Greek, so there's that. But it comes from the word kratos. I'm guessing I'm saying that right. If not, hey, forgive me. But it means strength. So self-control is an inner strength in ourselves. It's something that no matter the knowledge that we have, no matter what knowledge we can have all the knowledge in the world, but if we don't have self-control, then, all that knowledge is kind of useless. So what are some other names for self-control? Dennis said one earlier, it's discipline. So self-discipline. Can we think of anything else when we think of self-control as far as other words we may use for self-control?
Doing what you know is right, you know it, everybody else thinks it's good.
I think probably restraint,
Strength.
you know,
Definitely.
oftentimes, you can witness people not having self-control when they fail. You know, they lash out at other people, they, play the blame game instead of, controlling their emotions.
Yeah.
But when you're around someone, it's said that grace and peace is multiplied by the knowledge of the Lord Jesus Christ. And if they don't have that, then they become a gnarly person, which, we don't want to associate with someone like that. We want peace in the home, right?
Yep.
That's a priority with us.
Yeah.
You don't want to be around people like that don't have self-control.
That's right. So another one I have down here that I didn't hear, willpower. So doing those things that we don't want to do, like this, what I'm doing right now. Like, really don't want to do this, but I'm up here, I'm doing it. So anyway, so what about the opposite of self-control? When we think about somebody that loses self-control, what do we think of? A temper? Yeah. Yeah, so maybe indulgence. So when I go to a Mexican restaurant and they bring out the chips and the salsa, it's very difficult for me not to overindulge on the chips and salsa. So what usually happens? They bring out the chips and the salsa and you're hungry, so guess what? You start eating them. And then all of a sudden, your food comes out and you're like, oh, I'm not even hungry anymore. So then you end up taking it all home, which doesn't hurt because then you got lunch for tomorrow. But anyway, so yeah, definitely a big one, chips and some salsa. Instant gratification. Doing the thing that feels good in the moment and putting off the thing that we know, will do us good in the end. So instant gratification. So you said reserved, so unreserved. So is another one I have here. So what are some other typical things? I'm not, this could be anything. I gave the chips and the salsa example. That's just one thing. What are some other kind of examples or situations you see in your everyday lives where maybe you can lose control? I can go ahead and give you another one right now for me. I drive to Atlanta every day through the week. If you really want to test your self-control and later your patience too, that's another. Drive in Atlanta for a day or two, and you'll really learn a lot of self-control and patience. But other examples that you may have.
Your mom and kids are calling you in your own phone. Yes.
Mama,
Yeah,
mama.
and you're trying to talk to someone on the phone,
Yeah.
and it really does.
Yeah, as a father, I don't have that problem because I can just go say, hey, go talk to your mom.
Yeah.
So that works, yeah. Yeah.
Or even going to the restroom sometimes for the moms.
Okay. They'll follow you everywhere. You see little hands come under the door like, hey. Yeah. Can't get away from it. Anything else? Anybody else got any? Jennifer?
Trying to read a good book, and so I'm going to talk to you or interrupt you. To
Okay.
certain patients.
Yeah. Takes a little self-control to just put the book down and be like, yes, what do you need? Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's important that we know have self-control about.
So what is that again?
Bad thing, it might have been a bad thing for a long time, and so it seems okay, cause you know, it's been going on, but if we know God would improve it, we should try to stay within them perimeters.
Yeah, the parameters that God set before us, that's definitely right.
Jason, you talk about a situation in the restaurant. I don't recall a waitress being kind of rude, but I was with my veteran friends having breakfast on Wednesday and ordered a certain thing. And when she brought my food, it was different. She had plans to bring the rest of my food later to make up for it because she gave me the wrong thing. And when I just mentioned it casually, she said, well, I only had 2 hands. And so I had to exercise some self-control because when, I mean, you're paying for your food, right? And so I decided to start complimenting her, telling her, you know, what a good job she's doing. Because I did see her multitasking, you know, running the cash register, cleaning up a spill, and serving, you know, like 3 or 4 tables. So I decided to take that route, and I gave her a really good tip.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it'd been very easy to say, well, you got my order wrong.
yeah. Yeah, we don't always know what other people are going through either, so,
That's what I got to thinking. You know, just like that person that cut you off, you know.
yeah. They may be in a hurry, who knows where they're going, I don't know. There may
Maybe
be an
emergency, right?
That's right. So when I was looking at self-control, there's basically, yes, go ahead.
In my house cleaning experience, I ask my clients to write down what they expect me to do because I'm not a mind reader. You know, I'm not gonna move a pot if you don't tell me to move the pot. But don't fuss at me later when I didn't move the pot and because I'll go off. You know, because I didn't know you wanted me to move the pot.
Yeah.
I'm not a furniture mover, I'm a cleaner. You know, if I know what you expect of me, then it's easier for me.
Yeah, so managing expectations and that stuff, yeah.
I think a lot of us have trouble with self-control with spending.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to go to the grocery store with my wife. And the reason I like to go is because I like to get what I want. And so a lot of times we'll end up going and she'll have a list and I just ruin it. I'll ruin it bad because I don't have any self-control because I see it, I'm like, ooh, that's nice, I want that.
Don't go when you're hungry.
That's usually when I go. I want food.
Looking for the chips and salsa, right?
That's right, we're looking for the chips and the salsa. That's right.
It's okay, my wife knows not to even send me. She'll send me for a loaf of bread, and I'll come back with a buggy full of stuff.
Amen.
Same here. That's
I
what
don't know how it got in there.
It just fell, I don't know.
Fell when you went by, right?
You're not gonna believe this. Here it is. So when I was looking over self-control, there's basically, and this is just me talking here. I see there's 2 types of self-control. So there's the self-control of not doing the things that we want to do. So in this example, Keith I think it was last week, I don't know. I went back and watched some of his lessons so I could kind of have a refresher on it. But he was talking about putting up walls. So, you know, the walls that I put up may be different than the walls you put up. So he gave the example of, I believe it was smoking. So he's like, you know, I'm going to put up the wall that says, hey, I'm not going to go anywhere that has smoking, allows it, does whatever. I'm just not going to go there. That's a wall that I'm going to put up. So same thing. Just we put up those walls to kind of help with controlling ourselves. And then us staying kind of behind those walls is up to us to kind of control ourselves. So I was looking at it, and in Proverbs chapter 25 and verse 28. It says, "A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls." So, it kind of fit in perfectly. What Keith was talking about last week is putting up those walls. So, if we don't put up any walls to kind of help us, because we're going to be hit with things every day, all day long. And so if we don't have that self-control to say, hey, no, I'm not going to do that, or know where those limits are, then we're more likely to actually, succumb to that self-control and lose it. So we've got kind of stopping ourselves from doing the things that we want to do, or doing things that we would like to do, but we know aren't necessarily right. And then we also have making ourselves do the things that we should do. So that comes into that discipline and that willpower. So I have a note here, and I don't have a clue why I put it there, but it's there. So we'll skip it. So discipline and willpower. So self-control. So let me ask this question first. Is it possible for us to kind of use up our self-control? Like as we go throughout the day, our self-control, does that start to fade as we go throughout the day?
Your fuse gets shorter and shorter as the days go on.
Okay. Yes, exactly. So I have an example here. So, and this is my example, so you can take with it, what you want. So, like our emotions, is like we have like a cup in our lives. We have a cup. And throughout the day, this cup gets filled. And if it gets filled up too much, then we lose control. So we kind of store our emotions in this cup, and we can kind of see this as kids, like little toddlers. They have a really, really small cup. Some of them, I don't even know if they have a cup. But they've got a cup. And all it takes is you say no. And then what happens? An explosion. Yeah, Tommy.
I got a camel that takes straws, put on that camel, that broke the camel's back, and that's the last straw.
Yeah.
Or my last nerve.
Your last nerve, yeah.
Yeah.
So those kids, they have those little bitty tiny cups. And as they grow older, their cups get larger. And so the same thing for us is we grow in knowledge and all that stuff, and our cup kind of gets bigger. So that self-control, we can control ourselves better. And we figure out ways to grow that cup, or we figure out ways to kind of empty the cup along the way. But as we go through the day, we definitely start to lose that self-control. And there's actually a study out there that I found, and this is not biblical study. This is a study from the Stanford School of Medicine. And so the question was asked, do we kind of lose self-control or lose our will or discipline throughout the day? And so this is yes and no. It says, one of the most replicated findings in the field of willpower research is that people who use willpower seem to run out of it. Interestingly, an act of self-control leaves people with less willpower for completely unrelated challenges. Trying to control your temper, ignore distractions, or refuse seconds all tap into the same source of strength. The research also shows that willpower decreases over the course of the day as your energy gets spent or stress and self-control. This has become known as the muscle model of willpower. So like your biceps or your quadriceps, the willpower muscle can get exhausted from effort. But that doesn't mean we're all doomed to run out of willpower by noon. I prefer to talk about becoming a willpower athlete. Any muscle in your body can be made stronger through exercise. If willpower is a muscle, even a metaphorical muscle, it should be possible to train it. That's what the research actually shows. As we physically exercise, using your self-control muscle may be tiring, but over the time, the work out increases your strength and stamina so that starting out difficult, so that what starts out difficult becomes easier over time. New behaviors become habits, temptations become less overwhelming, and willpower challenges can even become fun. There's two things that have been shown to train the brain's willpower reserve or strength, and that's meditation and physical exercise. So when they say meditation here, they're actually meaning meditation, like you take time to get in a quiet place and think. Meditation training improves a wide range of willpower skills, including attention, focus, stress management, impulse control, and self-awareness. It changes both the functions and structures of the brain to support self-control. For example, regular meditators have more gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, and it doesn't take a lifetime of practice. Brain changes have been observed after 8 weeks of brief daily meditation training. Physical exercise also leads to similar changes in the brain, especially the prefrontal cortex. However, it's not clear why. Regardless, regular exercise, both intense cardiovascular training and mindful exercise like yoga, also make the body and brain more resilient to stress, which is a great boost of willpower.
But Jason, I want to ask you something. Do you have more tolerance with other drivers as you're traveling west with the sun in your eyes? Is it different on the trip home, or?
It is,
It
and
is,
that's because
yeah.
I'm going to do something.
Your cup's, just about to run over. I mean, you're
Well,
tired.
yeah. So when I'm going home, I'm a little bit more ready to get home, and things can agitate you a little bit more. And going in the morning, I'm just kind of like, oh well, here I go. I'm drinking my coffee, and I'll get there when I get there.
So you're saying that the drive to Atlanta is not very conducive to meditation,
No,
but probably more conducive to prayer?
yeah. Prayer, just don't close your eyes, because somebody will run over you.
Yeah,
I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
please don't.
Okay. Sometimes I wonder if people do have their eyes closed, because I don't know where they're going or what they're doing. Yeah.
If you spit on the road, you know that there's gonna be a wreck somewhere.
Yeah.
If there's any wet spot, there's gonna be a wreck somewhere.
That's right. If it's raining, there's a good chance there's going to be a wreck. So when I was looking at this study, and if I don't see you with your hand up, just yell at me. Go ahead.
There's a wall that has to be built. Well, you gotta be there's an architect to that wall. You gotta build it one way or another. But in order to build that wall, you gotta have somewhere to get the materials and your abilities to know what that wall would be. And so there's some things that you don't wanna put a wall up to, like, all the spiritual things that you would encounter, attending the church, reading the scriptures. All it would take for you to build the walls that protect you from the others, put on the armor of the Lord, is through the knowledge. And prayer is one of those meditation parts that give you that, the continuous prayer that gives you that ability to build a wall and to build your patience up, and knowing that there's someone that cares, that you can pray to, and knowing they listen, and it's a form of meditation. So it can be a beneficiary to be, in the church where you can learn to build that wall so you can protect yourself from other things around. And so there's some things you don't want a wall in between you and the Lord,
Yeah.
You want to keep that, down.
Jason, can I read the passage?
Yeah, go ahead. You can talk all you want to.
It said, rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. Let your moderation, and the definition there is self-control. For moderation, be known in all men, the Lord is at hand. Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication and thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your hearts and mind through Christ Jesus. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. So to me, that's how you enlarge your cup,
Yeah.
you know, couple with 2 Peter.
Yeah, so as we, here, they're basing this on science and physical things, but if we flip that and look at it on spiritual things, we meditate on the Word, we pray, we do all these things. We do the hard things. We do the things that, we know are right. And what do? We grow our cup. So I'm going to get a little scientific here, so if I mess this word up, I'll go ahead.
And there are some meditation techniques that you can do in your car as you're driving. If you find that you've prayed and you're still struggling, like breathing exercises, measured breathing exercises, not like, I'm gonna kill them, things like that. But, you just gotta choose what works for you. You gotta find what works for you and work at it. And once you find the thing that is your right combination, go from there and just use it.
Yeah.
That's the key, use it.
Yeah, you got to use your all the arrows you have. Good.
In connection with everything that's been said, I think it's important to point out that not only should we be that way, but we should desire to be that way. Because if we don't desire to be self-controlled, well, we're never going to achieve that, and we're not going to get better at it. So, we need to realize that that's something that we need and set a goal for us to be better, so therefore we can be better and be the person that we want. We should strive to do what, to be self-controlled.
Yeah. This should be our goal. We should put value in that, being self-controlled. So I said I was going to get a little scientific here because we're talking about growing our cup and stopping ourselves from doing things that we may want to do but we know are wrong. But there's also the flip side of that is to making ourselves do things that we know are right, or doing things that we don't necessarily like to do. So if I mess this up for anybody out there, I'm sorry. So there's a place in the brain called the anterior mid-singular cortex. I have no idea where that's at. It's in your brain. That's about as much as I know. But studies have shown that this is kind of like the willpower area of the brain. So it shows that we can actually grow this in ourselves. So like that cup, we can make our cup bigger. So when you do something that you don't like to do, this area in your brain grows. Now, it has to be something you don't like to do. If you like to do it and it's hard, it doesn't matter, it doesn't grow. But if you don't like to do it and you do it anyway, then this area grows. And so I just thought that was pretty neat, because mine is growing a lot right now. Tommy?
Hey, Jason.
Yeah, go ahead.
I typed in, do good on the search part of it, and it pulled up Isaiah, 1:17, pulls up many scriptures, but this one I like. Learn to do good. In other words, it's something that you've got to pursue, is to do good, learn to do good, seek justice. So you gotta look for it, and you got to learn it. And, rebuke the opposer and defend the fatherless and plead for the widows. So that's something that you got to learn to do. You got to learn it and you got to seek it. So it ain't something that's just going to pop up on you just because you ignore the other stuff. I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's not going to help you if you don't seek to do the other stuff, the good stuff, what you need to do and learn to do it.
Yeah. So
So you got to do more than just build that wall and just not proceed to do the other stuff that will help you retain that wall, build supports for it and all that stuff to do that.
yeah, so we have to learn to do good, and maybe it's something that I don't like to do that at all. But we know it's good. We still have to kind of control ourselves and push ourselves past to do it. So what about self-control? Who's required to control themselves? Everybody, obviously. So in Titus, chapter 1. So right here, Titus chapter 1, verse 8, we're talking about the qualifications for elders. It says, and I'm just going to start, it says, verse 7, it says, "For an overseer as God's steward must be above reproach. He must not be arrogant or quick-tempered or a drunkard or violent or greedy of gain, but hospitable, a lover of good, self-controlled, upright, holy, disciplined." And then over in the next chapter, chapter 2, it says, "But as for you, teach what accords with sound doctrine. Older men are to be sober-minded, dignified, self-controlled, sound in faith and love and steadfastness. Older women likewise are to be reverent in behavior, not slanderers or slaves to much wine. They are to teach what is good, and so train the young women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind and submissive to their own husbands, that their word of God may not be reviled. Likewise, urge the younger men to be self-controlled. Show yourself." I'm going to stop right there. And then down in verse 11, it says, "For the grace of God has appeared, bringing salvation for all people, training us to renounce ungodliness and worldly passions, and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in this present age." So, self-control is something we all have to do, even if we don't want to. It's something we have to do.
Resource, it has to be taught, because the older women and the older men are to teach the younger. So apparently there's teaching involved. We have that responsibility to do that, and that's another one of those parts where sometimes we don't want to participate in. Yet that's your call to do that. It's our responsibility to teach those others. They're not going to osmosis automatically.
Yeah.
It's got to be shown and taught.
So that diagram that Keith has on the PowerPoint, it's this bubble, and it's got faith and knowledge in it. And as that grows, what starts coming out? The other graces, so patience, self-control. So as we grow in the knowledge, so it's something that, we obviously have to learn. So as a young child, someone has to teach us knowledge. But as we get older, we can start learning for ourselves, and that knowledge grows, our faith grows, and as all that stuff grows, then the little spouts that he had on the thing that starts dripping, and people can start seeing that self-control. They can start seeing the patience, the brotherly kindness, the love. They start seeing that stuff come out of us. All right, so with the time that I have left, I kind of wanted to just go over a few examples in the Bible of people that kind of lack some self-control. Before I do that, I'll ask, where in the Bible, what kind of examples of in the Bible can we think of people that kind of lack self-control in a moment?
Saul, King Saul.
Okay. David. Lot. Okay.
Samson was pretty rambunctious.
Okay. Yeah. Ran away. Go ahead, David. Say it again. Cain. Okay, that was actually my first example. Is Cain. So in Genesis chapter 4, I'm going to start I'm just going to read verses 1 through 8. It says, "Now Adam and Eve, his wife, now Adam knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord. And again she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was the keeper of sheep, and Cain a worker of the ground. In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat portion. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. So Cain was very angry, and his face fell. The Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry, and why is your face fallen? See, if you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin has crouched at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it. And it said, Cain spoke to Abel his brother, and when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. But you must rule over it. You have to control yourself. Cain was angry, jealous, or whatever you want to call it. He was upset. And he let the fact that he was upset and angry control him. And then what did he do? He killed his brother. What about, I didn't hear anybody say Esau. He was hungry. He just wanted something to eat. And so what did he do? He sold his birthright, right? All he wanted was I'm hungry. I said, what good is this birthright going to do to me if I'm dead? I'm so hungry. Just give me some food. You can have it. I don't care. So we talked about Saul. So not waiting on Samuel to come to offer the sacrifice, even though he was told that he needed to wait 7 days. 7 days came and nothing happened, and people started panicking, and he's like, here they come. We got to do something, or we're not going to be in the favor of the Lord. And so what did he do? He lost control because of fear. We talked about Samson. I don't know if I want to go into Samson, but we'll go into Samson a little bit here. So in 1 Samuel, no, wrong. That's the last one. Judges, chapter 16. So Samson, yes, he was very rambunctious, and he came to love a woman named Delilah. And Delilah was bribed to figure out the secret to Samson's strength. And so she asked him a few times, and he would tell her, yeah, if you do this, it'll my strength, you can subdue me with these ropes. And so he did it a few times, and he's like, if you put my, hair in, locks, that'll get me. And then down in verse, let's see, where was it? Verse 15, I believe. So after the third attempt here, it says, and she said to him, how can you say I love you when your heart is not with me? You have mocked me these 3 times, and you have not told me where your great strength lies. And when she pressed him hard with her words day after day and urged him, his soul was vexed to death. And he told her all his heart and said to her, a razor, and anyway, the rest of the story. I told Aaron I wasn't going to go into this, but she pressed him hard. Guys, have you ever been pressed hard by your wife?
Is that like nagging?
It's whatever you want it to be. We'll call it motivation. She's motivating you. No, I'm joking, but he was pressed hard, and what happened? He was, the word's vexed, and I said grief or grieved. So he was just here's the secret, and he finally just gave it up. What about people that kind of displayed a little bit of self-control in certain situations? Anybody got any ideas there? What about Joseph, Potiphar's wife? I imagine she wasn't bad looking. So, what about Jesus? When he was tempted, he was a man just like us. He had to have self-control.
At the temple, when he was talking to the ones that were selling too.
Yeah.
You can be angry,
You can be angry. There's nothing wrong with being angry.
and you can take care of things, but he did it in the proper way.
He controlled himself and did it in the proper way. That's right. So, to kind of wrap things up, so just as faith without works is dead, faith without self-control is kind of pointless. So if we want to strive for excellence, then it's going to be impossible without some sort of discipline. I had a professor tell me once when I was in college, he said, they say practice makes perfect. But if you're doing the practice wrong, you're going to be perfect at doing it wrong. That's right, yeah. He would always say perfect practice makes perfect. So we have to discipline ourselves, control ourselves to do things right, to make ourselves more excellent. So increasing in knowledge is nothing but an academic exercise unless we're able to apply the knowledge by exercising self-control. So I'll leave it with that. Keith can come back next week and fix everything.
Good job.
And